Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. You are listening to Holding Down the Fort with Alejandro Soto. Thanks for tuning in. Got another good episode for you today. Let's see. Good pal of mine, Amanda McNamara, joined me for today's episode. I'm recording the intro and outro right after we just sat down to record today's episode. This is something new I'm trying. I usually procrastinate doing these intros and outros for a couple days and end up doing it at like 9:30 Monday night before the episode comes out when I have no energy. And so hopefully today I'll have a little more focus and maybe might just be a little more fun for your ear holes. Let's see how it goes. Get the business out of the way. What have I got coming up? Let's see, I think when does this come out? A week after this weekend. This weekend I'm playing at the Fort Wayne Farmers Market. Y'all are going to miss that by the time you hear this, but I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. My friend Murky's going to be playing in between my sets for that. If you've seen her play before, you know she's great. She came out to a couple of the night markets last year and joined me for those. And I'm really happy that she's been joining me for these farmers market gigs. So I'll be recording those sets and putting them up on my YouTube channel, and her sets will go up on her YouTube channel. So check all that stuff out. But since that happens before this episode comes out, what's actually going to be coming up will be Saturday, April 20th, 420, baby. We got Gracie's Groove at Club Escape down in the Pierre's whole compound. It's one of the little side rooms. I've actually gotten to check it out before and wanted to make something happen in this room, so I'm stoked to be doing a Pumas set for Gracie's birthday party. Get your tickets. Let's throw a big old dance party for our girl and celebrate the fact that she has survived another circle around the sun. So that's Saturday, April 20th. Link to tickets below to Gracie's Groove. Join us. And then let's see, next Ecstatic Dance will be May 5th. Cinco de Mayo, baby. We'll be at the Fort Wayne Dance Collective, where we are lucky enough to be hosted all year. So that will start at 6 p.m. on Sunday, May 5th. Then May 18th, I'll be playing at the Bar Street Farmers Market. We'll be outside by then. So, holy cow, it's spring and summer will be rearing its warm and shiny, bald domed head before too long. So make sure you get out your baseball caps and your sunblock so that you don't get a sunburn on your bald patch. It's going to be really good summer this, guys. I'm looking forward to it. So come out and hang out with us. I've got more stuff in the works for this summer, so keep your schedules open to come hang out and chill, hear some tunes. Let's see, anything before we get into today's episode? Be sure to check out all the links to Amanda's stuff below. She's got a whole bunch of cool stuff going on. Her bipolar peer support group sounds really neat. I might just check that out sometime if they're open to me sitting in and sounding like a kooky, hippy-dippy spiritual fella, which is probably how I sounded a little bit in today's episode, but Amanda very graciously entertained my wily ideas and helped to bring actually a really good perspective into the ongoing conversation that's been happening on the podcast about just how to be healthier, how to attain a greater degree of wellness overall in life. And it's been a theme since it seems many of us are trying to improve our situations, which I believe is a noble quest. So it's really cool to get Amanda's perspective, since her experience has been more involved in the kind of Western model of mental health care. And she also shares kind of that perspective of the negatives of big pharma and what she recognizes the pitfalls and the blank spaces in how we have been going at mental health, and but has a lot of knowledge on kind of the definitions. Like I think Western medicine and like mental health especially is really good at defining things. Like I've heard Western medicine is very good at diagnosing, but not very good at treating. That's my quote. So, but it's really neat. Like I learned a lot. I mean, the difference between bipolar 1 and bipolar 2, I learned that today. And I definitely did not know that before. I don't even think I knew that. I honestly thought there were more kinds of bipolar disorder. That there were more types that were out there. But it turns out it's only, or at least I have only been shared the first two. There very well may be more. I don't know. But we talked about two, probably the main two today. Like I said, I don't know much about this stuff. So listen to this episode, read the book that Amanda suggested. I've already forgotten the name of it, but she said it twice in the episode, and I'll be sure to get a link to that. So if like you are a person who has been diagnosed with this bipolar disorder, there's some resources out there that you can utilize to educate yourself on your experience and perhaps on the experiences of others in the past. And that seems to always be helpful to me. So I think that might be it. When I listen to podcasts, it's funny these intros, how many times a person says, "Okay, I think that's it. Let's get on to the episode." And then it's like, 5 more minutes of them talking before they actually get to the episode. I feel like that's what I'm in right now. But I have heard recently that some people say my voice is kind of nice to listen to. So at this point, if you turn off the part of your brain that digests and interprets and analyzes what it is that I say, and you just take this as a form of ASMR, and you purely just allow my voice to be a cotton swab going into your ear. I don't know if anybody else digs that feeling. I know that cotton swabs are like, I've heard they're not the best thing to use to clean out your ears because they like push all the gunk to your eardrum. But I kind of like the feeling of putting a cotton swab in my ear. So let my voice be that cotton swab right now. As I procrastinate and prolong this intro before we get to the actual meat of this episode, which is this wonderful conversation I had with Amanda McNamara. I hope you all enjoy. So Amanda McNamara, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. So where did we? I think we first met at the East End Eclectic on a Sunday afternoon a couple weeks ago. I was at your art show 2 Fridays ago now at
Yep.
Conjure, just
hmm
down the road. Super cool stuff. You and Mindful Lee put a great show together. Shout out to Jay Tubbs for spinning the tables, keeping the music going. Dry Lounge had good drinks. Just Fort Wayne's got good shit. I'm so stoked about it. So thank you for creating that whole event. I know that stuff takes a lot of work and is like there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that nobody will ever know about to make something like that happen. So thank you for doing all the legwork and the grunt work to make something cool happen. Like just down the street from my apartment, I literally walked
Perfect.
to the art show.
Right
I
on the
felt so
money.
cool.
Well, of
Yeah.
course it was cool.
It was very
I
cool.
would say that it's as far as the grunt work and everything in the background, that's definitely Mindful Lee. That was her first show that she curated.
Cool, cool.
And so J Dubs and all the goodies that went behind and everyone that was part of the tribe that was all mindful.
Cool.
Uh really enjoyed doing that show though, as far as getting my art hung up and getting it out there. Conjure's a beautiful place to show
Mm-hmm.
art. It really
Mm-hmm.
is.
Mm-hmm.
The lighting, everything makes it perfect. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was real. I mean, to sound like a hip young kid, it was a vibe, man. Like the evening sunshine coming in those big windows, and like hip young people and hip people of older generations hanging out.
thank you, thank
Everybody
you.
rocks.
I'm the older generation here.
And I took like, was that a family photo I took for you? I
Yes,
remember that was awesome. I thought
yes.
that was just like such a cool little moment
It
to be on the
was.
other
And
side
you
of.
did a great job and you
Oh,
caught that
good.
sunset. Yeah, it was a
Oh,
great picture.
nice. Yeah, it was a little tricky with
It
the
was tricky with
evening
that
sun,
lighting.
but I hope every y'all looked good.
Well, thank
Got a
you.
beautiful family.
Thank you. That's very kind. Yeah, I was happy of all people to could take the photo. I was like, he's the one. He's the one that needs to take the photo. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. So, Amanda, what's your thing? What do you do?
Depends what day it is.
So today you were what were you working on today?
Okay. Good old Wednesday afternoon.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Well, today I worked on my journal that I
Yeah,
created
yeah.
for Monarch Mental Health.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's a creative symptoms tracker for bipolar 1.
Okay, cool.
And it'll be launching hopefully here in May of this year. I have to state that to hold myself accountable,
Uh-huh.
Don't want
Uh-huh.
to miss that deadline.
Uh-huh.
But was working on the journal. I did paint for a little bit just to kind of get the creative juices
Uh-huh.
flowing for our
Nice.
time on the podcast. But yeah, definitely have done a lot of revisions as of late for that journal. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been a little time consuming.
Okay, cool. So I got to look through a version of the journal when I met you at the East End Eclectic. And so I have a visual of like what you mean by a symptom tracker. But I'm going to make this a two-part question.
Hmm.
So, first off, it's for bipolar 1. So what is that? And then what is a symptom tracker for that look like?
Okay. So bipolar, there are two types of
Okay.
bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. Bipolar 1 is when you deal with mania, which is the very euphoric, lots of energy, very talkative, some other symptoms that people typically think of when they hear bipolar is rage, irritability, anger. Um, but there's also a lot of beauty that comes with the mania sometimes, which is why a good portion of people don't want to pull away from that, which is the creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's almost like you see
Hmm.
colors more vibrant.
Mm-hmm.
At least it is for me. I can see colors more vividly and more vibrant, and um, so that's more so bipolar 1. Bipolar
Okay.
2 is when you deal with depression. Well, you still, excuse me, bipolar 1, you also deal with depression and
Mm-hmm.
mania. But what differentiates the two is bipolar 1, it has mania, whereas bipolar 2 primarily deals with depression and other symptoms, which I'll explain for the symptom
Uh-huh.
tracker. But you only reach like a hypomanic state. So you never go
Mm.
into a full manic episode.
Okay.
You have manic tendencies, but never
Uh-huh.
fully stay there for like a week or 2 weeks or a month
Okay.
or months. So,
Okay.
part B of your question and why it's important to have a symptom tracker is because when when you're first either diagnosed or wondering if you are, wondering if you are diagnosed with bipolar, uh and if you've been diagnosed for let's say 10 years, sometimes bipolar to me is ever evolving, things are always changing, it's a
Mm-hmm.
mood
Mm-hmm.
disorder. And so at the beginning stages for me, it was hard to tell if I was in a manic episode, even though it
Mm-hmm.
was very intense and I was
Mm-hmm.
having good days. But then those good days were great days, and it went on for months, and it was like nothing could go wrong. It was just this high euphoric feeling. I'm created some of my best work in a manic
Uh-huh.
episode. Um, but in order to recognize that you are in a manic state, it's important to log those symptoms. And so, realistically, if you can get in front of it at the early stages, or if you're trying to get to a place of stability as you get older and want to understand your illness, to start logging the symptoms helps you understand your pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
are you someone who's more prone to go manic in the springtime,
Mm-hmm.
when the
Mm-hmm.
sun's out, when the time changes? These
Mm-hmm.
things affect bipolar.
Mm-hmm.
Even with a sunlight or a therapy light, excuse me, a therapy light, there's kind of a disclaimer that, like, a normal person, quote fingers, insert quote fingers, a normal person can have 10, 15 minutes in front of a therapy light. If you battle with bipolar disorder, it's recommended 5 minutes,
Mm.
because the vitamin D, sunlight can affect and can trigger a manic episode.
Oh.
So there are small things that can make big waves, and there are big things that can make the same waves
Mm-hmm.
of triggering the bipolar. So there's also trigger charts in the journal. Again, to understand what your triggers are. Is it something that's overly stimulating music and it sends you into, a very panicked state, or irritability and it sets you off? Is it a confrontational thing? Did you get in a fight with the barista and they set you off, and, yada yada? So there are many different things in that journal from what you saw, but the
Mm-hmm.
primary primary factor is that it's a color theory
Mm.
um
Yeah.
tracker, symptom
Okay.
tracker. So
Okay.
I've implemented the arts
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
into the journal. So
Yeah. Okay, cool.
by logging, if you were depressed, utilizing the color blue. If you were in a manic state,
Mm-hmm.
utilizing the color red. And there's a brain chart in there to help you see the consistencies or inconsistencies within the brain.
Cool, cool. So it sounds like the journal, the symptom tracking journal, a an intended purpose for it is to, as I hear what you're saying, is to like help bring some mindful awareness to a person's lived experience when they may be distracted from the present moment because it feels so overwhelming to them.
Hmm.
Is that like an accurate
That sounds very nice.
description?
Yeah.
Cool. That's really cool. And like the fact that you're utilizing the arts in that, I think is really powerful. Like I was listening to a podcast from a fellow who has like young kids, and they were talking about like he was talking about touring schools,
Hmm.
and just like then kind of extrapolated that out to a discussion on the educational system and how the arts are being stripped away from education. And like, I mean, my grandma like spent some time working as an art therapist and like told me a really impactful story that I won't get into right now, but like showed me, okay, this is something legit. And I mean, I haven't stopped making art. I still make music, so there's something legit to it in my
Yeah,
experience
most
too.
definitely.
And like, I think that as like humans continue growing and like we have like the desire to learn, like if we can incorporate like that creative mind, like and like a lot of the stuff you were talking about as like symptoms of mania, to me like didn't sound inherently bad, but like something becomes a disorder when those things cause other things to come out of balance. So it seems like you're trying to help people to see, okay, I have these tendencies, and where is the point that these tendencies start like kicking me, like I start kicking myself in the ass.
Hmm.
And maybe by gaining some awareness of these tendencies, of these patterns,
Hmm.
that awareness can help me from getting wrapped up in the feeling of it all being too much.
Yeah.
And I can remember, oh wait, no, this happened last spring,
Hmm.
and I'm still here. I got through the spring and had a decent summer.
Yep.
There were some rough days, but you know, that's life.
Yeah.
And so right now in the moment, it feels overwhelming, but it won't be that way forever. So
Exactly. And I
I'm gonna
think
circle
that,
with every
yeah,
color.
yeah. And it is a very important, there's always that silver lining, right? I mean, we all struggle with bad days. And like you said, it's the differentiation is the extremity of it, the length of an episode, um, that makes it that disorder, like you were saying. And
Mm-hmm.
so sometimes, a manic episode could last 3 weeks. Sometimes it could last for months. And the point again of the tracker is to be able to again recognize those symptoms so you can hone in on it. And a lot of people, excuse me, let me rephrase. Depending on your care treatment, your care plan, some individuals may go the herbal route and maybe have a regimen within that. Some other individuals may not take anything at all. Maybe they just want to understand their patterns so they can be aware of their life, their situation, their triggers. And then there are those who take medications. Shout out Big Pharma. Eye roll, insert eye roll. But I am one of those who have been under psychiatric care since my journey started when I was 19. And when I went to college, I met a lot of artists who didn't want to take medication and maybe dealt with depression, bipolar, and those, of course, who were bipolar, those I kind of wanted to ask questions. Why,
Mm-hmm.
why is it this way, or what makes you uncomfortable? What happened in
Mm-hmm.
the past that maybe you shy away from a doctor now? And a lot of it came back to creativity
Mm-hmm.
because the medication
Mm-hmm.
hinders that
Mm-hmm.
creativity side.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Sometimes.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So I'm 19 from Bluffton, Indiana, and I didn't have, there wasn't CBD. It was either
Mm-hmm.
stay in the distressed moment you were in that's kind of trumping and ruining your life,
Mm-hmm.
or creativity. And it wasn't even a thought. I didn't have a
Mm-hmm.
choice. So when it came down to taking medications, I did realize that it did kind of hinder the creativity. However, once you get more in depth with bipolar, there is such things as rapid cycling, where you can be on medication, you can be functioning, and I have been functioning, thankfully. It was a little rough last summer, but been functioning as of late, and by that I mean my episodes are more manageable. And when it comes down to the psychiatric part, if you're lucky enough, you can get your regimen dialed in to where you can make adjustments. So when you start seeing those symptoms maybe escalate into a manic episode, you can say, whoa, I need to reflect within myself and see what I need to do here. If I need to reach
Mm-hmm.
out to my care team and see if I need to make adjustments within my regimen of supplements or
Mm-hmm.
medications. And so there are so many layers to the journal, but I removed quite a bit, honestly, since the last time I saw
Mm-hmm.
you, and got rid of a lot of charts and tried to simplify it
Mm-hmm.
because on those hard days, the last thing someone wants to do is fill out a survey. I don't want to fill out a
Yeah.
survey. It seemed like a good idea, but yeah, the mania can be fun, like you said. I wanted to talk about that. The mania can be very exhilarating and can be fun and exciting, and people loved party Amanda. Like let's go out, stay out, let's drink, let's do this, and just very. I mean, I'm very much kind of on a whim kind of girl, but there are bad parts of mania, and those are, I think, what hold the stigma to bipolar, which is, again, I mentioned the
Mm-hmm.
irritability, the rage, the anger. I assume people think that if you're bipolar, you're just gonna lash out at that barista. You're gonna be like, dude, you put whipped cream in my coffee. I'm gonna lose my damn mind. I'm gonna light this place on fire. Um, but that's not always the case. And I
Yeah.
think that the stigma is why I've created Monarch and created the journal and created Bipolar Community, which is the peer group that I started. And our first group was last Saturday.
Oh, cool.
It's six
Cool.
people show up, so that was
Hell
cool.
yeah. That's great.
But it's for me, it's breaking that stigma and
Mm-hmm.
learning
Mm-hmm.
about bipolar, because right now the best thing you're doing is asking questions about bipolar.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you're someone who has family or friends or what have you, knowing someone who battles with bipolar, or you have no idea at all, I think the best thing to do is just to ask those hard questions,
Hmm.
because I think we'd rather have someone ask than just assume that we're a lunatic.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm sure plenty of people assume I'm a lunatic, and I've never been diagnosed as bipolar.
That's
But
because you're happy all the time. You're a happy guy.
not all the time. Should have seen me Monday. Jesus,
Oh my
it's
God.
not a happy day. Ask my coworkers.
Okay, I'll track him down.
Yeah, yeah, they'll give you the down low. But I mean, yeah, I didn't even that difference between like bipolar 1 and bipolar 2, like I didn't know about that. Like, and it's like the route I have gone has been not involved with the Western medicine deal, like to talk about past experiences, hearing friends talk about like going on ADHD medication. And that was the door. I've got the windows open. It's okay. It's a beautiful spring day and the wind is blowing, so I've got the windows open. But I remember my friend talking about like when he was on whatever medication it was. I'm not going to take a guess of what it was, but he said he felt like he existed in this little box in his
Mm,
mind and he did not exist outside of it.
interesting.
And it was like, I mean, even just like talking about that, like
Mm-hmm.
it feels like I mean, it's being in a prison cell,
Yeah.
in your mind. And I'm like, I'm going to go adjust that door. Hold on. I might not cut this out. We'll see. We'll see if I.
Woo! There's a ghost in here.
But so now, like, so I guess because of that, and there are I'm sure other experiences I could bring up, but because of my past, I have steered and stayed away from like Western medicine, even like getting into like doing therapy, like talk therapy and stuff. I have like an aversion to that for in some sense, but I still want to like become a better human and like continue growing and learning, keep taking steps forward. And so like the thing I'm in right now, I'm like studying Buddhism and like practicing that and like working with the four noble truths and like the Shakyamuni Buddha's prescription for mental and physical health, and like trying to really dig into this and understand this,
Mm-hmm.
and not go down other paths. And so like what I hear, what you're saying, so much of it does echo my experience and the experiences I've heard of others. And so it seems like we're probably all experiencing something of this sort to a certain degree. And like you said, like bipolar is a mood disorder.
Mm-hmm.
We all have emotions.
Correct.
And so there's probably going to be something in life that causes those
Mm-hmm.
emotions to feel out of whack,
Yes.
off balance,
Yep.
agitated. And so if there's something I can learn from you, from your experiences, from asking questions about what is bipolar 1 and bipolar
Mm-hmm.
2, and then if there's like a little thing from that maybe helps me in a meditation to let go of an emotional attachment so that I can come into a greater
Yep.
place of peace, then like that was fucking valuable.
Yeah.
And like that's like collaborate, like you said, you like talking about like having a team. Like I think
Yep.
that's really important, and I think that's really cool to hear someone who is in like the more like Western, like kind of standard, traditional American mental health
Mm-hmm.
model be talking about having a team, a support. Like in Buddhism, that's the sangha. It's the spiritual community of practitioners that I get together with every Monday night and like do the practice and talk about like what we've been dealing with. And like what Monday we went around the circle and shared like, okay, what are you hung up on right now? What's your attachment? What's holding you back? And boy,
That's
it
intense.
was really intense, but like also like so
Freeing.
good. Like I'm not free yet, but I'm
Well, the
taking steps
emotion
there.
to be feel
Yeah,
like it's
yeah.
getting lighter,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and to be able to like express this thing that is holding me back in a group of people that aren't like it was really cool because no one tried to make me feel better. No one was like, oh well, you are though. Like no, there it was like, okay, this is what you're going through, cool.
Hmm.
And it was like, and it allowed, they like gave space for me to hear my own self talk.
Yeah.
And in a way, that's, I mean, that's talk therapy, right?
It is,
in
but
maybe a different
what
way
the
than.
yeah, but I think the what hit you and what I think is most important, especially like in the peer group and just sometimes listening to people, right?
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
don't always want feedback and we don't
Hmm.
always want advice. Sometimes it's just to let the burden out and to
Hmm.
say, I want this, I'm going to talk it out so these thoughts don't just stay in my head. And I
Hmm.
think that's where, again, saying that we all as humans have emotions and moods and things like that. What you're when you're describing your experience that you had, uh was it, did you say Monday?
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah.
Monday. Uh I feel like, again, quote fingers, normal people have the ability to Grusfraba, not to quote anger management. But they can Grusfraba a little bit easier than those who battle with bipolar, because there are times where those intrusive thoughts, yes, they do, it's part of the human brain, right? We do get intrusive thoughts. The matter is, again, that duration. My
Hmm.
duration could last a week to 2 weeks thinking about something that happened to me 2 weeks ago,
Hmm.
that stays with me, that I'll do the talk therapy, that I'll journal it out, that I'll, work out to release that. It could still be there.
Hmm.
But it's a matter of not fighting against the intrusive thought, but to
Yeah.
say, hey, I recognize you and I'm not going to deal with you right now. And
Hmm.
then you'll get some peace. And guess what? That son of a bitch will come right back. So that's where that duration comes
Yeah.
into.
Yeah.
Again, whipped cream in your coffee, you're going to lose your mind, but then you're going to go to work and say, "You know what? It is what it is. He got my order wrong," and you're over it.
Uh-huh.
That's something small. And these are just random scenarios that could stick with someone for the rest of the day or the rest
Hmm.
of the week. And
Hmm.
again, it's where those durations, the duration of time and the intensity of it, I think,
Yeah.
is again what
Yeah.
differentiates the normal human brain versus the bipolar
Uh-huh.
brain.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Listeners have heard me say this before, and because I love Ram Dass, but he talked about how after like all the years at Harvard doing therapy, the years of doing psychedelics with Tim Leary, the years of spiritual practice in India, he said that he had not gotten rid of one neurosis. Not a single one had gone away. It was all still there. But what had changed? Hold on, what had changed was it wasn't a big deal anymore. He called them little schmooze. You know, he'd say like, "Oh, depression, you're back. Oh, sexual perversity. It's been a while since I've seen you. Oh, wow. Oh, mania. Oh, isn't this great? Oh, look at this party we've got here. All my old friends."
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and then Roshi Joan Halifax called them old dogs, and how like after all the she spent decades. She was like a Roshi, like a Tibetan, like that's like a priest or like an ordained monk or something, like highly revered practitioner. And yeah, she said the same thing. They're still there, but now it's an old dog that every once in a while howls, and I howl back at him, and
Mhm.
then he goes back to sleep.
I love that.
And yeah, and like thinking and like looking at the idea that has come up in culture of like ego death, of the need to like get rid of your ego or like kill your ego to become a whole being. Like I don't think that's possible, and I also think it's like kind of it's just a waste of time to try and do that. Like, why don't you become friends with that part of yourself? Or I don't know, I'm trying to become friends with that part of myself and like make the ego that is part of the meat suit that I'm in for the maybe 80, 90 years on this earth. Maybe the ego that is part of the vehicle can actually help out. Maybe if like I talk to the ego right and have a beneficial relationship with my own self and my own mind, then it'll actually speak up when useful, when needed. And with a little discernment, I can be like, hey, no, you're not needed right now. Sit down. This isn't your moment. I need creativity or I need compassion or equanimity, not egotistical bravado
Yep.
to chop down a tree or something.
Yep.
I don't know.
Then that's the awareness, right?
Yeah,
That's your
yeah,
awareness. And I
yeah.
think that if there's anything that anyone could ever learn, because I always say, like, everyone needs a therapist.
Okay, hold on. I just have to note
What?
the podcast law that when you go to record, the probability that your neighbor's going to mow their lawn goes exponentially higher. Like, of course, the as you're saying something great, the neighbor's mowing.
Start it up!
We'll see how good the AI plugin I've got is at taking out lawnmower sounds. But
Hopefully.
I'm sorry, you were talking about the awareness
Well, we're having awareness about the lawnmower
aspect.
turning on, so we are aware. God damn it.
Ram Dass, be here now. You stay in the present.
Bruce Fraba. I don't know what it is with me and Adam Sandler, but I think we've got a bond between my glasses and public speaking. And I hated Anger Management. That movie
Really?
pissed me off. But the Bruce Fraba stuck with me, and it's actually written in my journal.
Is it?
And yes, and someone editing the journal goes, Bruce Fra, or said something completely not it. And I go, that's pronounced Bruce Fraba. Like, come on now. But the awareness and the most important thing I think any of us can have as humans is self-awareness.
Yeah,
Take care
yeah.
of yourself. You blend better. You're able to adapt better with people because of your own awareness. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe you don't have, maybe you lack self-awareness, but I'm aware that, you may be having an anxiety attack or something, and I'm noticing cues that you're not
Mm-hmm.
okay
Mm-hmm.
because I have awareness. So it's like, let
Yeah,
me be that
yeah.
friend, not come in and swoop you and cradle you, but
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm here for you. You seem a little upset right
Yeah,
now, or however it may be.
yeah.
And that's also, again, the key point of the journal is to have that awareness because, um, again, there are times where I still go manic. Are you still obsessed with that mower?
That's all I can hear right now. It's not all I can hear. It's becoming
Think
a
it's Sister
practice
Act.
to listen and focus on your voice.
I'm over here, come this way. Uh yeah, the lack of awareness sometimes if I am in a manic episode, that it's like, again, having those great days for 3 weeks and I'm like, I'm solid, man, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, something's off.
Mm-hmm.
um and again, because I can get wrapped up in that mania and the creativity because maybe I hadn't felt good in a long time, that it's like it just feels extra great and I want to stay
Mm-hmm.
there.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
again,
yeah,
to
yeah.
have the awareness to say, hey, look at your pattern here, you're seeing a lot of orange and yellows, you need to like taper a medication, you need to like
Mm-hmm.
get a hold of your therapist, you need to create some art, just find those healthy coping skills so you don't turn into party
Mm-hmm.
girl, or and I've been known as Samantha from Sex in the City. I hate to say that on live things, but that's who I was once described as, was Samantha. I was so, this is so random, but I was like at my heaviest weight going up to the hottest guy in the bar, and my friend's
Hell
mouth would
yeah.
just drop and she'd be like, oh my god, what is she doing? I'm like, what? This guy looks like a Victor and he's hot as hell, and this is gonna be a great night. And then he wouldn't, I'd go up there and no one would buy me drinks, and that was the bet. If he buys your drinks, then I'll buy the rest of the night.
That's
It
funny.
didn't work out, but I was Samantha. I just had that, the overconfident, um, very fierce personality of, I'm going to tell you exactly how it is. I'm probably not going to have any regret about it until after I calm down and realize I should probably right my wrongs. But
Mm-hmm.
again, that's where it comes down to, even though you're in a episode of any kind, once you come down, if you can keep that awareness, you right your wrongs, and that's the
Mm-hmm.
most important thing, and that's where again where that awareness comes into
Yeah.
play. Because again with the stigma, I think a lot of people just think they're going to throw that coffee with the whipped cream in someone's face and say fuck you and have a nice day, let it ruin their life for 3 weeks, become an intrusive thought of that scenario, hold on to it, not be able to let go of it no matter how hard they try, and that could spiral
Mm-hmm.
into the uglier side of mania. But the stigma is again, I think lashed or molded around the irritability, aggression. I'm gonna punch a hole in the wall. And when I've told people, "Hi,
Mm-hmm.
I battle with bipolar," they're like, "Would have never guessed." I'm like, "What do you expect it to look like?
Mm-hmm.
What are you expecting me to do that
Mm-hmm.
would be problematic?" But a lot of people that I've talked to have only met those who battle with bipolar that are undiagnosed or not undiagnosed, untreated
Mm-hmm.
bipolar,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where it can get scary because
Mm-hmm.
I still have episodes. I'm still medicated. I still have to work through a lot of emotions and
Mm-hmm.
things. I can't imagine what it would be like to be untreated with bipolar.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but that's where there's art. That's my healthy coping skill. We
Yeah.
could flip to art now.
Yeah. Well, and I'll just add that like after being, I'll say, jaded against like Western medicine and thinking it's all bad and just a money making scheme, I'm coming around to like see that, all, as the Grateful Dead say, as Robert Hunter wrote, all good things in all good time. And so
I
if
love that.
the causes and conditions are such that a person will be benefited by the use of a mental health medication, fan fucking tastic. Like in Buddhism, there's this practice of rejoicing for others attaining even the smallest degree of happiness. And like, I think that I was failing at that. I didn't know about it, so now I have awareness and I'm working on rejoicing in other people's happiness. And if someone feels better because they're taking Prozac and it's not causing any detriment to the rest of their life, their health, their personal relationships or whatever, great. I'm so happy that you're attaining a greater degree of happiness and well-being in life. That doesn't, so I want to put that out there. I still think that a lot of the Western medical system is a money-making machine.
I'm not
But
disagreeing with you at
yeah,
all
yeah, and it's
because honestly, the way I look at it is I'm murdering my liver every day. I'm murdering my major
mm-hmm.
organs, but I have to pick the battle,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
I tried going the CBD route. I cannot smoke weed. I
Mm-hmm.
get really paranoid. So there's not
Mm-hmm.
really another alternative for me.
Mm-hmm.
I know what the side of me looks like when I'm unmedicated. I've, that was the first journey. It was not a good place to be. And like I said, not having a choice, I did go to big pharma and I realized the money making side of things. And I see a lot of errors in the system. I feel though I wouldn't be able to, like you said, be able to
Mm-hmm.
function without these big pharma drugs. And it's kind of that double-edged sword. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have I still don't feel like I have a choice. But to know that this keeps me stable at this regimen that I'm at
Mm-hmm.
now,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I'm thankful to live a stable quote fingers life. Because even though again those episodes come around, they're more manageable within my psychiatric care plan. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I think about the lack of the was it my life shortage of someone who is bipolar. And it's not only because A, the suicide rates are very high, it's because of big pharma. I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
the medications, you have to pick the lesser of two evils,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do I want to be stable or do I want to potentially long-term side effects affect my major organs?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to pick. And at
Yeah,
this time,
yeah.
I want to live a happy
Uh-huh.
and sustainable life. And in order to do that, I just can't think about my kidney taking me out in 10 years.
Uh-huh.
Realistically, I think they say it's like a 20-year life shortage than
Mm.
the average person
No shit.
of those who battle with
Huh.
bipolar. Yeah.
Wild.
Not to
Well,
quote anything, but it's
uh-huh.
it's
Uh-huh.
somewhere around that.
Uh-huh.
And I think that it has a good part to do
Mm. Mm-hmm.
um with how the medications affect the
Ah.
body.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I mean, I never weighed this much until I started taking psychiatric
Hmm.
medications, which causes what? Other problems. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like this
Mm-hmm.
double-edged sword. Which battle do I pick? And
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
have to pick stability
Yeah,
as best I can, be stable. There's
definitely.
still shit that goes haywire. And
Always.
yeah, but like I said, it's more manageable now since my
Nice.
last June was pretty rough, but
Yeah, last summer was wily, man, for so many of us. We don't need to hash that out, but you were not alone.
oh, whew, thank God.
Yeah, yeah,
Because it sure
yeah,
felt like it.
yeah. Yeah, that was part of it. I mean, that was part of like the last 4 years, the weird pandemic thing.
Oh, that too.
But now to get into what you were about to get into, art, the like kind of the positive revolution side of all this, like as art programs are being stripped away from schools, like it's and to I mean it's so important. So yeah, like how has art been like an adjunct therapy to try and improperly use a fancy sounding term, like as an addition to the other things that you're doing and what you're working on with like your support team,
Mhm.
how has your individual and like personal artistic practice like
Helped manage
uh
bipolar.
gone? Yeah.
Well, I would
How's
say,
it going?
well, it's going great. I
Good.
would say that when you mentioned school, I think back to my senior year when I was shadowing or in doing my internship with my high school art teacher,
Oh, cool.
Donna Ballinger. She's amazing. She and I are still friends to this day. She's a great friend and mentor. And at that time, she thought she'd mentioned, you should go to school for art therapy. And I was like, okay, kind of looked into it. And it was like, at the time, St. Mary's of the Woods, an all girls school. And I was like, this sounds absolutely awful. It was down in southern Indiana. I'm like, that I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. So time rolls around and I started doing a peer group for Mental Health America, an art peer group for Mental Health America, and it was beautiful and it was great setting it up and creating it
Hmm.
and involving art history. I'm very in love with art
Oh,
history.
cool.
A lot of my artwork includes art history
Yeah.
and with my collages. Whether or not it's a yoni or just a woman in a living room
Hmm.
that's now outside, but we'll get to that. So the passion started in high school and doing those collages, and every time I could take art history I did.
Mm.
And I don't know why I was so just infatuated with the art history, but I think it's the fact that you got to learn and understand kind of the underdog,
Mm.
learning where they started and how they became who they were. And I had
Mm-hmm.
always had such a connection with Van Gogh, and this was prior to my diagnosis with bipolar. Um, but his artwork and I just love Van Gogh.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that kind of transitioned, I went to school for graphic design at IPFW, dropped out my junior year because of a severe depressive episode. Um, and if you put me in front of Adobe, I'll just black out at this point. I don't know anything. Don't ask me to do anything. Um, because I was like a freshman taking, or as a junior taking freshman classes, it was a mess. And in art and in school, you're meant to be perfected, right? You're talking about that box. And so it was
Mm.
like, to me, black and white, here's your grade. I had one
Mm.
professor who had another professor grade something, and I'm like, I'm confused because this was your guideline, not Larry's, and what is going on here? And even though I didn't really follow the black and white guideline of college, I would, why can't we do
Mm.
it this way kind of concept, right? After college, I felt like I couldn't paint. I felt like I couldn't
Mm.
create because it
Mm.
was going to be wrong and it wasn't going to
Ah.
look right and it was
Uh-huh.
just going to be wrong. And one day I was so well, I mean at the time I was so manic and I was like, "You know what? Yeah, I feel like that guy on the Foo Fighters poster right there. Jesus. Yeah, yeah, whatever.
Dave
Just
Grohl flipping the bird.
yeah, flipping the bird, grabbed a canvas and was like, put paint on canvas. That's all I
Mm-hmm.
need you to
Yeah.
do, brain. I need you
Yeah.
to put paint on canvas.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
what I did was I technique I learned in elementary school to literally close your eyes with a pencil, draw on the canvas, and
Mm-hmm.
put paint on canvas. And you start to paint what you start to see.
Mm.
And
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
my favorite thing about painting is the color. Like I said, see it pretty
Yeah.
vividly.
Yeah.
And I love being able to make new color and see how it it affects and molds the painting. Just creating the depth with it. And ironically enough, I showed at Studio 7, which is unfortunately closed now.
Yeah.
Shout out Maggie Dye.
Mhm.
Love you. And I showed there. And I give a lot of thanks and credit to Maggie because that was the first time I had ever shown art that wasn't for school, that wasn't on a
Mm.
refrigerator, or just sending a picture to someone.
Mm-hmm.
And by having my art in there, my old professor, my old photography professor,
Mm.
came in. And guess what? He bought the first painting the very first one I
No
painted
way.
out of college. He bought it $40. Didn't know anything about it. Walked up and
Uh-huh.
said, I love that.
That's the one.
And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
what is happening here? And so it kept me
Yeah.
inspired
Yeah.
that he was inspired by the painting, and just very abstract art and being able to say, why can't we
Mm.
do it this way? Why can't the banana
Mm.
be a phone? Why can't the guy's body be a door? Um, why can't his top hat be a goldfish bowl? Why can't it be different?
Yeah.
And so when I started playing with art history is let's put them in different places. Like there was a painting
Mm.
called Creeping Darkness, and it was a woman in a green dress, and she was in a living room in
Mm-hmm.
the book that I had. And I'm like, well, let's put her somewhere else. Let's put her
Mm-hmm.
outside. So I put her outside, cut her out, put her outside, and the way she was looking back was there's this darkness that was to the far left that got lighter and
Mm-hmm.
lighter, and
Mm-hmm.
everything around her was vividly um painted with bright reds and greens and yellows and
Mm-hmm.
oranges. It looked very mosaic, but it was called Creeping Darkness because she was in a manic state. But the depression
Mm-hmm.
episode that lingers or that comes to you after that manic crash
Mm-hmm.
was coming up to her, knowing that it was coming,
Mm-hmm.
to be prepared. And so a lot of my artwork has a lot of mental health relatable scenarios in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um I'd say almost all of them do, and if they don't have a deeper subliminal meaning,
Mm-hmm.
there's probably an orange on it because I feel life gave me oranges and not lemons. So,
I think oranges are better. Yeah, that's that story of your teacher buying that particular piece of art. I think really like exemplifies like the what I see as the real value of creation. Like getting money for it is great. It's awesome. It's awesome to be able to pay the bills
mm-hmm,
and keep the lights on by making pretty stuff or making a ruckus. But like even better than that is like that teacher buying that particular piece of art. Like I mean, for me recently, it was. Uh, a friendly, soft-handed Amish man asking me to play country roads. He like put his hand on my arm and just like very softly said, "Do you know country roads?" And like Country Roads by John Denver, I like for years could not play that song without breaking down in tears because it was like it reminded me of my great grandpa that died, and it like represented him and like his friend Howard that gave me the guitar that's sitting right behind you. And like I like stopped playing that song because I just like the emotion, it was too much, it was too
mm-hmm,
intense for me.
mm-hmm.
And it took this actually he's not Amish. I found out he's German Mennonite last week.
Bless you.
There's a
God bless you.
distinction.
Correction,
Sake of
correction.
accuracy. But like that thing that and now I'm playing that song. I get through it and it sounds good.
That's awesome.
And I think of Howard, and I think of my great grandpa Wayne, and I think of that friendly Amish man who did not know that he was asking to hear a song that I couldn't get through. And because he asked, I got through it.
That's amazing.
And like, yeah, that's the shit that's the magic.
Yeah.
That's like
That
what
connection.
that's the
Yep.
inspiration that
That connection.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm smiling very large right now, but no one can see since it's a podcast. But that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And like, I mean, that fella Howard that gave me that guitar when like I was 14, like was setting me up for that moment,
Yeah.
that connection with a
Yes.
German Mennonite man
Yes.
who grew the carrots that are sitting in my fridge right now. Like, and I think that's how art builds that community, that like support system you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about. Like it's just going out and doing stuff. It's kind of facing fears. You know, I had fear around that song,
Yep.
around those emotions that I
Yep.
had connected to this tune. And I mean, it's funny talking about like the idea before of like the ego, and that like ego had no role
Yep.
in me working through those emotions connected to that song. It was the
Exactly.
kindness of
Yep.
a man who spent decades in the fields
Mm-hmm. Who provided
that
carrots.
like therapied me in a
Yes.
weird way. And so I think that's
That's it. Facing fear.
how art like is really able to be an adjunct therapy. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it helped me in that way, and like I hope that other people are able to connect with their creativity so that like they can
Yep.
have those experiences that seem to be some of the most valuable in this short life. There's the lawnmower.
Yep. Part B, lawnmower. It'd be awesome if
I
you can't
love
even
it.
hear it and we're just talking about some random ass little. We swear there's a lawnmower here.
I'm
Um,
hoping the technology is good enough that
yeah.
I'll be able to take it out. Who knows?
Who
We'll see.
knows? It's fine. It's fine.
AI
Thanks,
man.
George. I think that you're right about the fear factor. And like I said, trying to be brave and show it at '07 and continuing on.
Yeah.
Without Maggie, I don't think I'd be doing art to this day. I really don't. Because of one opportunity to say, hey,
Hmm.
do you want to show your art? And so I'm always very grateful for her and our friendship, and her continued support, honestly. And creating when I am in a manic state is phenomenal. I mean, that's when like I said, that's when I feel I put out the best work. It took me 1 hour to paint my Rise Up self portrait. That's a weed whacker. One, so it's whacking weeds right now. Let me tell you, it's like,
They're gonna hear that. There's no way they're not gonna
yeah,
hear that.
we're no power tools. It's like four, four, I don't know, 3 by 3. It's I don't know what size it is, to be honest with you,
Uh-huh.
but it's big enough. It took me, I went back in my time lapse just of me taking periodic pictures of the progress, about an hour and a half
No
in a
way.
manic state. And it's massive and it's very
Uh-huh.
detailed and it incorporates Van Gogh's wheat fields and I painted and all this
Hmm.
stuff, about an
Hmm.
hour and a half. If I were to sit down in a non-manic state, it takes me about 4 to 6 hours sometimes to do a
Hmm.
painting.
Hmm.
And it gets frustrating in those states because I'm like, I know how much more I can do when I'm manic. So sometimes I crave that mania so I can whip out some badass
Hmm.
art, but I know that that's not the healthy way to go.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So I've had to then practice to do art while I call it sober, while I'm not sick or in an episode,
Mm-hmm.
to appreciate art and to still continue to do art. But I do
Mm-hmm.
notice that my work is, well, depending on, I mean, mood and emotion in or out of an episode, however you want to look at it, is can get heavy. So I did like an Edward Hopper piece, and there were 3 faces within, and then each of those faces and heads, there were different parts of Edward Hopper's art, and it
Oh,
told this like
cool.
really dark, not dark, heavy, well, heavy story,
Uh-huh.
And the colors were very heavy and bold, reds and oranges and black. And my aunt even said, "I would love to hang your work in my shop, but it's just kind of heavy. It's just dark." And I'm like, "Well, not all of them."
Uh-huh.
So then I started paying attention to what people want to quote buy, and I'm like, they want commercial art.
Mhm.
Most of them,
Mhm.
unless they want to be a deeper thinker and
Mhm.
think, what the fuck does this mean? Or what does this mean to me? And that's
Yeah,
also the
yeah.
great thing too, right? It's like the story that keeps on telling, because what I paint and what comes to my mind and then goes onto canvas means and feels something entirely different to me than it would you
Yeah,
looking at it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then you
yeah,
get to
yeah.
feel something all over again.
Uh-huh.
And that's where it's that awesome conversation piece, right? And so it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I never thought of it that way.
Mhm.
And then there's that beautiful different perspective.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
think that um let's see, what was the last thing I even painted? I'm trying to think. Oh, I did like little replicas of my blue skies,
Yeah, yeah.
and that was fun. I mean, they were like 2 by 2, two
Uh-huh.
inches by 2 inches, little squares. And again, it was just the concept of feeling like just doing paint on canvas. It was just
Mm.
like a
Mhm.
relief.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so it has been a game changer to use it as a therapy technique when I am struggling and sick with an episode, or just because I love to create
Mm.
and want to make art. But I'm running out
Mhm.
of room and I need like a gallery or something. I'm like, I can only put so many holes in my wall,
Yeah.
you know, until it looks like, then there are lots of holes, paintings missing, and then
Uh-huh.
you just see the
Uh-huh.
holes because you have an art show. I felt like the Grinch last time, just running my house, grabbing all my artwork off the wall, trying to take it to Conjure. But
That's fun.
I wanted to say thank you for coming to Conjure and
Yeah,
for being
absolutely.
there and supporting us. And
Mhm.
I meant to say that, anxiety brain. See, full circle here. But thank you for being there. It meant a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you asked me about my art, and that's huge. We talked about how I color match and go back in there and
Mhm.
um paint over top of what I collage, so it doesn't look like I just put a
Mhm.
piece of
Mhm.
paper on my
Yeah, yeah,
canvas.
yeah.
I still gotta figure out how to make it more pop in your like make it pop so
Uh-huh.
we
Uh-huh.
can get past that barrier, but I haven't decided to do that yet because the journal's been trumping everything. So
All good things in all good time,
it's
right?
not my time.
Yeah.
I'm hanging out. But the journal was supposed to happen over a year ago, and so it's gonna happen when it's supposed to happen.
It will.
I can't push it.
Uh-huh.
Can't
Uh-huh.
push it any more than I think I absolutely have the power and control
Mhm.
over. I
Mhm.
can't. I'll just
Mhm.
hang
Mhm.
loose. Alabama
Yeah.
shakes.
So, what's this monarch thing you're starting? You've mentioned it a couple times and I don't have the full down low.
Well, Monarch Mental Health is the journal.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Monarch Mental Health is my LLC, and it's a journal company.
Cool.
So the first one will
Cool.
be the bipolar one creative symptoms tracker, and there'll be others. Some people who have seen the bipolar journal have asked if I would do one for something in regards to anxiety, something in
Mm-hmm.
regards to
Mm-hmm.
PTSD. Those two are also on my rap sheet of diagnoses, so that's something that I would be familiar with.
Uh-huh.
Check that off the list. But I feel there's so much more than just the one journal that I feel I'm of course versed in dealing with bipolar for I don't even know, I've 15 years I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um to me there's still so much to learn about the illness and how to help
Mm-hmm.
myself. And I feel that back to the having a tribe, um, and learning about how they cope or maybe even how they don't cope, how it resonates within you to reflect within yourself. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so having that bipolar, it's called bipolar community, like I had mentioned. So that's through Monarch as well. So
Cool.
I'm trying to
Cool.
branch it as I can and let it grow, let it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
transition into, you know, the whole shit and shanty. I mean, I see it just being a whole bipolar community to where people don't feel like they have to hide their overly chatter mouth and overly excited bonkers ideas
Mm-hmm.
and be judged for. And again, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, if we, as those who battle with bipolar, learned more about our illness and had a way to communicate to others, this is
Mm-hmm.
how my brain's functioning right now. I'm not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I'm depressed, I don't want to be around people. Why? Because that's not who I am. That's
Mm-hmm.
a part of me that's not functioning. And so if
Mm-hmm.
I'm around someone and I'm manic and I'm in the irritable, angry state of mania, I'm going to have the awareness to say, you know what? I'm not coming to Larry's party because I am like gonna flip out at any given second.
Mm-hmm.
That's not who I am. And so you start to kind of seclude yourself. And yeah, it's good in increments, but like don't go completely dormant and crawl in a hole and just
Mm-hmm.
stay there and go depressed. But I think the more that those who come to the peer group or those who learn their symptoms can understand about the illness, then we can help break that stigma because
Mm-hmm.
we're
Mm-hmm.
aware of what's going on with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Not just like, well, I'm pissed off today, and that's that. It's like
Mm-hmm.
using an iMessage. Like, I feel completely erratic right now because I slammed my leg in the car door and da 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 da. And then that's just like ruined your whole day. And it sticks with you. Or like I said, the more emotional thing of like the whipped cream in the coffee, It could be they were already rushed. Something happened at home that had
Mm-hmm.
already triggered them. That was the cherry on top. That made them fly off the hinges and like become very irrational.
Mm-hmm.
And again, being aware of, okay, shit, I'm in the state of irritability and mania. I'm not coming to Easter. I'm not coming to my family
Mm-hmm.
Easter because I'm not comfortable with myself. And I'm not going to be comfortable around you, not because I wouldn't understand, but because I don't want to be ugly to my
Mm-hmm.
family
Mm-hmm.
because I'm having problems with my bipolar brain.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's where the whole bipolar community peer group is outlined as of now with the book called Take Charge of Bipolar, which is written by
Okay.
Julie A. Fast.
Okay.
She's very intelligent, seems like an amazing human and very knowledgeable. She herself battles with bipolar too. Dose uh and she's worked with other providers to help write this book, and it helps you understand triggers and symptoms
Mm-hmm.
and things like that, and that book saved my ass. Without that book, I don't even think I would be where I am now because providers don't really explain that. Excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
psychiatry
Mm-hmm.
providers don't really explain that. They
Mm-hmm.
understand bipolar, they understand how medications work.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a human, take your drugs, have a nice day. That's
Mm-hmm.
where that bullshit big pharma comes in,
Mm,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Then if you go to a therapist, they can guide you. But if they don't know bipolar specifically,
Mm-hmm.
how can they help educate you?
Mm-hmm.
They can help you through your maybe symptoms and maybe your emotions and help you with those intrusive thoughts. But unless they're versed in bipolar, where are you going to learn the knowledge?
Mm-hmm.
And so I started reading that book a long time ago. And I actually reached out to her on
Oh,
Instagram
cool.
and told her what I was doing. She sent 3 books of her second edition. It
Nice.
was
That's
badass.
awesome.
And I'm like, oh
Super
my
cool.
God. I'm like, I'm your biggest fan. So that whole group is based on that. And it's so we can
Cool.
learn about our illness. It's not just there so we can rant and have a bitch fest.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally there
Mm-hmm.
as a way to learn in increments. It's not a study hall,
Mm-hmm.
but to blend both community and knowledge. So we can just become more aware
Yeah.
of what we battle with, help end
Uh-huh.
the stigma, and um, or at least help people understand, the
Yeah.
illness to lessen the stigma.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, I think that's really good because, yeah, I mean, stigma on anything prevents it from being discussed, and prevention of discussion just causes ignorance to permeate.
Yeah.
And that's no bueno. That
No,
only
no
increases
bueno.
suffering. So I real quick want to play devil's advocate for the barista
Do it.
that put
Do
the
it.
whipped cream on your coffee. Like, so in that interaction was like, maybe I don't go to Starbucks too often, so I'm gonna guess like 5 to 10 minutes, and that was the time that those two humans when their lives coincided.
Hmm.
And so that person on the receiving end of the coffee with the whipped cream is upset that that barista got their order wrong, and this is their job, and the mind fuck goes on. But I'm playing devil's advocate for the barista
Let's hear it.
who might be 19, stressed in college, got up way too fucking early this morning, and really doesn't want to be doing that job all that much anyway, and also got yelled at by the last person. So like,
and then he loses his mind.
yeah, and I this helped. The thing that has helped me in like these kind of situations when I'm wrapped up in the suffering of not getting what I want. Think about like trying to think, well, that's another person. Like maybe I'll give them some grace. I still got a really nice Starbucks coffee, and I can scoop the whipped cream off if that's that big a deal. And then if I can extend a little grace to that barista, maybe then too I can extend that grace to myself. And it's okay, I'm upset that I didn't get what I want, but that's okay. I can choose to let it go. And maybe I have a dairy issue and I have to go back around and ask for it without whipped cream and it's a hassle, but maybe if I can stay open and connected to my heart and have compassion for this 19-year-old barista who got up at 4 a.m. to work a grunt job at Starbucks, like maybe we could like share a laugh, and then the situation that could have ruined my whole day actually turned into something where I shared a chuckle with someone because I was able to stay in my heart and empathize with another human. And I'm not saying, and I've plenty of times gotten pissed at the barista for putting whipped cream on my thing. So I this is something I'm working on. I'm no cooked goose here. But like when I've been able to think, okay, that's another human on the other end of that counter, that's probably going through similar stuff as me. They live in the same town as me. So how different could we really be?
So you've got empathy, you're seeing a silver lining, your awareness to give grace, your awareness to acknowledge he's also a human being, and thinking of devil's advocacy here. What is his life? What is his life? What does he do? Who is he? Does he battle with something? Does he struggle with anxiety? Those types of things. And I think that having that silver lining and always giving grace, my God, I wish so many people would just go, I need to give grace to this person. Because we all fuck up. We all forget things. I forgot my wallet at the gas house. I'm banned from the gas house. I shit you not. What? I had just moved to Fort Wayne. I got banned from the gas house.
How do you get banned from
because
the
then
gas
I
house?
tipped her shitty. Like I tipped her like $2 on a salad that was $8, and I was literally like panhandling trying to get money to pay her, and she was like, absolutely not, you're banned. And I was like, I can't even wrap my mind around this. I said, have you ever just had, I was brave though, and I said, have you ever just had a bad day, forgot something, it ruined your day, you're stressed out, and then you get to meet someone like you with no grace? I said, do you know that there are fast food restaurants hiring? I said, you are the face of Gas House. You represent them, and you're treating a patron. I mean, I was graceful as possible without a wallet. I was able to pay her full amount and like $1 some tip at where I was at. It was a nightmare. Got banned.
Awful.
I know.
But it's also
all I wanted was a fucking chicken salad.
I hope they've got like a picture of
they probably do
in the back, like from the security
right?
camera.
If
like,
you see this person, kick her out. I wish it could have been like at least a bar fight. Like it was over a chicken salad, for Christ's sake. Like
Isn't
my
that
goodness.
Fort Wayne, you get banned from the downtown hangout for a chicken salad.
It was me, the bartender lady, and my chicken salad. Yep, that was it.
That's perfect.
So anyways, where I was going with that is, I hate that I even said that, but I don't really give a shit. So
I doubt they work there anymore.
Oh, I'm sure she still does. That's fine though. Anyways, I mean,
I'm
banned. Sure they, I don't even know what they are doing these days.
Can't go to
gave her away.
Anyway.
Shit. But what I was going to say,
Give him grace.
impulsivity. Okay. So I kind of gave the backstory that maybe that person with the coffee and the whipped cream was
Yeah.
had other triggers, right? That led up
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
that boiling point. So there could be the bad part of, well, the really hard part of managing bipolar is the impulsivity, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
there's something with the amygdala, which is like your front core of your brain that processes these thoughts, where a normal human has like, I forget the milliseconds to process a thought before they
Mm-hmm.
open their fucking mouth and speak it out. Shrink that by like a million,
Uh-huh.
and that's the size of the amygdala of someone who has traumatic brain injury, bipolar. That cortex is fucked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's where the impulsivity comes into play. And you could just be rapid fire. That person is only a barista. You don't
Uh-huh.
have the empathy to think this person's also having a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
You are in charge. You are Samantha from Sex in the City, and you're going to get your goddamn coffee how you want your coffee. And that's where the overconfidence comes out, the impulsivity. Again, that confidence of, excuse me, this is like, do you know who I am? I'm the one that got kicked out of the gas house. I'm here for my fucking coffee.
I'll get kicked out of here too,
Yeah.
damn it.
Yes. And I didn't even have a bipolar moment at this fucking chicken salad house. I just wanted a chicken salad. God damn it. Their ranch is so good too. I'm missing out on that ranch.
It is a really good salad.
It is
I
a
gotta
good.
give them that.
Can
They
you get me
choose-
one? Can we do a
Sure,
deal?
after this?
Let me make sure I have enough money.
You'll be out in the car and I'll go in.
Do a chicken deal. But
who's in the car out there?
it's my chicken dealer.
No, she's not allowed. She's not allowed.
Did you see her picture?
No chicken salad for you.
None for you, Glen Coco. Oh my god. That sounds so good right now. You would. Anyways, that's where it gets tricky, and that's where it gets hard to understand. That the situation with the chicken salad could have escalated very easily had I been in a manic state of mind. But I wasn't. All I did was stand up for myself as gracefully as I could, because the first time I ever had her as a server, she was a bitch, and I was like, she's probably having a bad day. There's probably something going on elsewhere. I'll give it a chance. And then if I ever have that same server again with the same demeanor and the same attitude, I'm like, you are just a bitch. And, you can only give the benefit of the doubt so many times and grace so many times before you're like, okay, now I need boundaries. And that's a whole different fucking topic, because those are harder than getting into the gas house.
That's true. Something I've heard Rob Doss say as well that I thought of recently was he and I've heard no one else put this out there, but the idea of meeting God in drag. Of when you meet that server for the second time and she's a bitch again, flip that and think, this is God in drag. This is the divine force of the universe wearing wolves' clothing to poke at me, to show me where I need to do the work on myself more. And like, this came into my mind. I got a phone call from a hospice worker at the end of my work day, and wondering if I could make a delivery of food to someone whose mother was dying. And because of the circumstances, the conditions I found myself in, I was unable to help. And so I saw come up in my mind the desire to help people. And it could be a good thing. I want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the root causes of suffering in the Buddhist practice I'm studying is desire. And so if I'm attached to that desire to help people, even if when carried out it causes good to happen, it can cause suffering for me. So when I had to tell this person who I direly, from the deepest part of my heart, wanted to help, no, I can't do that because I'm short-staffed. I've got to mop the kitchen. I've got 2.5 hours of work to do in an hour and a half, and I got to be somewhere at 6. I didn't run that all down for her, but this is what I'm going through in my mind, looking at the reality of the situation, telling this person, no, I can't get food to your client while her mother is dying. Sorry.
Yeah.
And
That's hard.
then it was. And then I got pissed at myself because I couldn't help this person. My desire to help, I was that, and that was the rub. So I looked at this phone call as God in drag. Yes, I want to help people. Is that a good thing? Yeah. But if that desire causes me to go off balance and then I end up being pissed and in a bad mood when I go to my practice group that Monday night, and everybody was cool about it. No one was pissed at me for being pissed, but I was pissed. I didn't have as good of a time. And that was the lesson of the divine.
Mm-hmm.
Like God in drag was that hospice worker that I couldn't help.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the tough rub,
Yeah, yeah.
this is the being shown the tough work that like you were a bitch to that person that you thought was a bitch.
Oh, I wasn't.
And
bitch
maybe
to
you
her.
were, and
No.
maybe you weren't,
Mm-mm.
and that really doesn't
Other than
matter.
I did tell her Other thing I said was fast food was hiring. He's like, you're gonna have that demeanor, and I tried to be very professional. Tried to be very, just matter of fact.
Yeah.
But that's really heavy stuff. What you just said, I
Yeah.
really appreciate that you say that, because they say the same thing with grief, right? The reason grief is so hard and the reason we cry so hard and we miss so much is because that's how much stronger the love is, how much stronger passion is. I mourn my dog, and it's going on 2 years. I mean, he was my complete fucking rock. And all I have to do is play Songbird by Fleetwood Mac and I'll just bawl my bloody eyes out. But it's because that love was so, so strong. And so what you're describing to me with the desire and the passion that you wanted to be there, unfortunately you had to set that boundary because you were in the situation you were in, it's where it gets hard.
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
passion and, it's true though. I mean, it's kind of like what do they say? Cuteness aggression. You heard of this? Do you know?
No. What is this?
Cuteness aggression is real. And they always make the joke like, "Oh, the baby's so cute. I just want to eat them all up. I just want to bite them." There is such thing, and you'll notice toddlers will do it. They'll go up and like nibble on, like you'll just come up and like gently bite your arm or bite their sister's arm because they find so much love for that person that they have to bite them. Look it up. It's real life.
Yeah.
So it's like that passion and love meets that anger and pissed.
Yeah.
It's cuteness aggression. You just gotta bite somebody, I guess. Just be like, listen here, barista. There's so much
I just need
anger.
to nibble on your arm real quick.
Yeah,
Is
I'll
that
feel
okay?
better. Seriously though, Google cuteness aggression. It's real
I'm
life.
gonna look this up.
And amygdala.
That's really neat. Like the physical aspect of it. I'm glad you brought that up because like I read a book from a woman who was a neuroscientist, like neurobiologist. Jill Bolt Taylor was her name. She studied aneurysm or strokes that were caused by a specific type of aneurysm, and only 2% of people who had strokes had those types of aneurysms, like those aneurysms. Like she studied 2% of stroke patients, and then after 20 30 years of studying that, she had that kind of stroke and got to like watch her brain deteriorate. It's crazy. It was called the book was called My Stroke of Insight.
Jeez,
It was a straight up psychedelic read, man. Like her account of observing her mental faculties deteriorate while her brain is like bleeding, and she's like, fascinating. This is what it's like, while she's like in the shower realizing this could be the end. And so then she survived and went through like a recovery regimen with her mom. And like a crazy read, but I'm glad that you brought up like the physical aspect of it, because there is something to that, like we are in these meat suits.
Mm-hmm.
We have brains. And so I think like what I'm in Buddhism right now sometimes gets a little heady. And so to remember that, yeah, it's human in meat suit and these are the conditions we're working with. Maybe that bike fall I took a couple years ago knocked something definitely knocked something different. And so like that physical change has an effect on my emotional experience, my mental perception of the world,
Mm-hmm.
because it's one of the lenses that I perceive the world through. And so I'm glad you bring that up because I think that's an important aspect to this conversation of mental and emotional wellness, that like we've got bodies.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, a big part of my practice taking care of myself is like just exercising.
Mm-hmm.
I'm exercising regularly, and I'm like more emotionally stable. Like when something difficult happens in my life and emotions well up, like I have a confidence in like my physical form to carry me through this.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes the emotions less edgy.
Mm-hmm.
Like the punches don't hurt
Yeah.
as much
Yeah.
from the emotions.
Yeah. That's very fair.
So I'm glad that you have that in your rap. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I was a runner. That was my outlet.
Oh, cool. I
But
hate
I
running.
ran all the time, and now I have no cartilage in my right knee.
uh, yeah.
So yeah, it sucks. When I see people running like in sports and stuff on reels, I'll start crying because
Oh
I'm like, God damn,
man.
I missed that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But I agree. Personally, I need to start going back to the gym. Is in regards to the physical aspect too, it does make a huge difference on your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And I am thankful, even though with the weight that I have, I'm thankful my body continues to stay with me
Mm-hmm.
and can go through these changes with me, whether I'm at my healthiest weight or my heaviest weight. I'm thankful my body is like, okay, I still got you.
Nice.
Your bones are starting to hurt a little more. Maybe we could go walk and help yourself out. But um, I think that I kept clenching my fists when you were talking about the physical
Mm.
aspects of it. And it's just like, when you do that, like if you think of something that makes you mad, it's just like, yeah, you feel it. When I get very anxious, I play the tambourine. I have
Cool.
something to
Yeah, yeah.
let the let out, and just shake it off.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it messes with that adrenaline aspect to where I can shake off the anxiety
Mm-hmm.
and just feel like, okay, you had a lot of energy, you're shaking it loose, you're grooving, and then I feel better. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've been playing the tambourine probably a lot more than I have recently. I'm not good at it, but I enjoy it. I think I told you I wanted to play guitar. I wanted to learn. My
Mm-hmm.
family has played forever. My grandpa was in a band back in
Cool.
60s, and I'll show you a picture next time. I think
Hell
you'd
yeah.
appreciate it. But I never had the patience to learn guitar. I tried and I was like, this is stupid. Give me a cowbell, give me a tambourine, I'll be set. And it was just a way to have a musical outlet. I can't sing worth a shit. Um, you know, do you know the like hardcore 90s song of Where Have All the Cowboys Gone?
I don't know. I don't think I know the version you're talking about, but I
Well,
know
you need to
that
look up the
song.
19. I'm gonna send it to you.
Please.
But there's a part, and I'm gonna tell you what seconds to listen to. That is the only song that I feel I can nail. Like just hit those notes, and it's like the worst part of the song. But I swear, I'm like, I nailed it.
That's a
That's all
skill.
I got.
Uh huh. Uh huh. As a vocalist, a lifelong vocalist, it it now takes more effort to sing poorly than it
Oh.
does to like sing in tune. Like I have to think harder
Well, that sounds
to
like a
sing out
terrible.
of key. Like
That
that's
sounds like a
really
terrible
hard.
gift.
I know, right? It's a real
Like,
form of
you know what I
suffering.
really wish I could do today is sing terribly. Dude, if I can sing like anybody, it would be Susan Tedeschi.
Ooh,
Susan
yeah.
Tedeschi, or
Oh, so good.
like a blend with her and maybe like Lady Gaga. Like
Uh-huh.
however that would
Uh-huh.
work. Kind of like
Uh-huh.
the
Yeah.
Fergie and Jesus
Uh-huh.
combination, but like Susan Tedeschi
Uh-huh.
and
It's that
Gaga.
ground, the like grit
Yeah.
that they
So much soul.
yeah.
That's that
Uh-huh.
passion.
Uh-huh.
That's
Yeah.
that body
Yeah.
vibe of
Uh-huh.
just like,
Uh-huh.
oh God, I just gotta hug somebody. But yeah, they're
Yeah.
amazing live. Have you ever seen them live at
No,
the
not
embassy?
Tedeschi. No, no. I
It
got to see Gaga live though.
okay,
Dude,
well, rub that in my face. Oh my God, how amazing! I want to see her
so
and Florence and the Machine before I
oh,
die.
that would be awesome. Yeah, that'd be a
Um,
really good one.
but seriously, if you ever get a chance to go see
Uh-huh.
Tedeschi
Uh-huh.
Trucks, you should probably go.
Yeah, yeah. My Aunt Amy sings their praises like so
Does she go?
much.
Has she seen them? I
I'm
assume.
sure. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. She's like a big music junkie. Like,
Yeah.
if there's one person in my life who knows music, I call out my Aunt Amy. Like when I was trying to, the story goes, when I didn't know the words for even flow, I like was like, Mom, what are the what is he saying there? He's like, I don't know, call Amy. And I called my Aunt Amy. He's like, oh yeah, even flow, like rest his head on a pillow made of concrete. Yeah, that's what he's saying. I'm like, ah, yeah, it is, isn't it? That's good. She's like, yeah, it is a good song. Eddie Vedder rocks. So,
Yeah.
yeah, my Aunt Amy loves
Well,
the
damn.
Tedeschi trucks.
We should go
It is
hang with
super
Aunt
cool.
Amy.
Yeah, she lives in Central Illinois, so
Well, we'll
maybe
go
if I
find
can,
her. I mean,
yeah, we'll
whatever.
road trip
Bring her
it
to
out.
Rock the Plaza when you jam out,
Yeah,
and I'll play the
yeah,
tambourine for you. There you go. Before I
yeah.
die, before I die, I don't care whose band it is. I want to be the front woman, and I want to play the tambourine and have a nice life.
We'll do an instrumental version of what all the cowboys. Where have all the cowboys gone? And you can just rock the
I
tambourine.
would say something Rolling Stones. I threw in
Uh
some
huh.
tambourine for It's a Bitch.
Uh huh.
Actually just called bitch, but you can't Google it that way because it's a cuss word. Um, Florence and the Machine, Fleetwood Mac, and Bob Seger. Surprisingly enough.
Nice.
Ooh,
No way.
Sam and Dave. Bada bing, bada boom. Do you know Sam and
No.
Dave?
No.
Ugh. Um, have you
I
ever
guess I
watched the
gotta check
Blues
out.
Brothers? Probably
I
not. How
haven't.
old are you?
29,
Oh my
practically
God, just a
30.
baby.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm 33. It's not that
Okay.
far off, but I feel like I'm 48. Um, you should check
I
out Sam and
need.
Dave for sure.
Okay. I
That's
need
like
to.
a hearty staple right there, and you'll understand when you hear them.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I watched Airheads this summer. I feel like that's in kind of the realm of like Blues Brothers, like music rock films. Have you seen that one? Seen Airheads from the 90s? It's worth watching only once, I'll be honest.
I
But a dude in a Taco Bell drive through said I looked like Brendan Fraser from Airheads. And then like I found the Blockbuster DVD at my grandparents' at
oh my
Christmas.
God, that's
It was a
epic.
vibe, man. Yeah, me and my sister watched Airheads late at night while away for family Christmas. It was awesome, but I don't think I need to watch it again.
Yeah, I think I maybe watched part of it and like couldn't get into it, so I probably never
That's
finished
fair.
it.
That's the first 20 minutes was kind of rough. And then like the next 20 minutes after that, I'm like, all right, when are they gonna get on with it? And then when I realized this is it, I was so there for it. It's like, oh no, this is the plot.
This
No,
is
this
as
is the
far as
whole
it goes.
movie.
Oh my God, sucks.
Sandman. Adam Sandler was in that one.
Okay, then I need
Yeah,
to.
it's great.
I'm trying to remember what the cover looks like, and it's throwing me off.
It was like,
I'll have to go. I'll
yeah,
find it on
it's
Prime,
it's
and
it's
then I'll get
good.
on your level. You listen to Sam and Dave. I'll watch
You'll watch
Airheads.
Airheads, and then we'll shoot the shit.
Reconvene. Yeah.
So Amanda, where can people find you if they want to look up you, what you're doing? Where do they go?
Pretty generic right now. It's just McNamara Amanda on Facebook.
Nice.
Put it backwards so people can find me.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And then Instagram is Amanda and Oranges 3.
Okay. Okay.
And
A Mandarin Oranges 3?
yep,
Okay, cool. I don't think I follow that page,
a
so I'll have to
Mandarin
check
and
it out.
Oranges 3. And then Instagram for Monarch is Beautiful Bipolar Brain, I believe.
Cool.
And then
Cool.
Monarch Mental Health is on Facebook.
Okay, sweet, sweet. I'll put links to all that in the show
Wow.
notes in
Thank
the
you.
description.
I
Try and
appreciate that. This
give
has been
people
great.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for being on the show. I think it's really cool what you're doing in town. And a goal of mine for this podcast is for it to be a platform for people in this city to talk about what they're doing, and hopefully for anybody listening to like get connected in. So please, people, if you're listening, if like any of this resonates with you, get connected with Amanda. Shoot her an Instagram message. Like you did to your that author.
Julie,
What was that book again?
Take Charge of Bipolar, written
Okay.
by Julie A. Fast. You can
Okay,
find it
cool.
on Amazon for just like
Cool.
$15, and then
Cool.
her second edition is on there as well.
Okay, sweet. I'll try to put a link to that as
Yeah.
well because that sounds really interesting.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
It's a truly a phenomenal book.
Yeah.
She's written Get Things Done When You're Depressed. She's written quite a bit of other books, not even just based on bipolar. So,
Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. I think like, and you alluded to this a little bit, but even for folks who are not diagnosed as having these disorders or these types of brains, it's worth having this information. I mean, like reading that book about the lady that had the aneurysm stroke, I learned so much about my own brain and how it operates from getting into the head of someone who's just really smart. And like you say, this lady's really smart. So
yeah.
check it out, people.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. You
Yeah.
did awesome. You're just fun to hang with.
Well, thanks. Thanks for being on
It's
the
a
show.
whole vibe, let me tell you. And I'm going to, going to do my best to extend for the underdog. I'm going to keep doing, rooting for you, and we're going to get you out there. And I'm very proud of you for what that's worth.
Thanks.
I'm very proud of you, and I'm thankful to have met you. And I'm glad we got a cool friendship going on.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do it again sometime. This was
Yes.
great.
Thank you guys. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks, Amanda, for being on the show. Thanks for having a great conversation, giving me your time on Wednesday afternoon. It's been a neat day. I think we chatted during the last of the sunshine. It looks like the rain clouds are moving in to continue showering our city with these lovely spring rains. It's been really nice. I mentioned at the end of the ecstatic dance this last week that the small moments of peace that I have found in my life lately have been early in the morning when I wake up 5 minutes before my alarm goes off and the rain is quietly drizzling outside. Those have been some of the most peaceful moments I've found as of late. So I'm really enjoying the water energy of this spring. I feel like we're getting a lot more rain than we have in previous years. So I'm really grateful for all of that. Thanks to Los Lemons for the intro music. I forget sometimes to give them a shout out. I forgot to in the intro, so it's going in the outro today. Check out Los Lemons, people. And I think I'm going to look up that 90s version of Where Have All the Cowboys Gone and put that at the end of today's episodes. If you got this far, you know what I'm talking about. And I appreciate you making it this far, listening to all of this rambling coming from my mouth hole. And I hope you I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I appreciate you listening, for giving me your time and your attention. You could be on TikTok. Maybe you are on TikTok while listening to this. I don't know. No judgment. If you want to get on TikTok, go on TikTok. I'm not going to stop you. But you're not going to find this podcast on TikTok. So if you're not on TikTok, thanks for focusing in on this episode. It's a difficult thing to do to maintain focus in these days, and so good on you for doing that. And take care of yourselves. Until next time, do what you can to take care of your health. Maintain that tribe, that support circle you got around you. Even if it's just one person, make sure you're doing what you got to do to keep the good people around. Amanda's one of those good people, so I'm glad that she's a member of this community we got here in Fort Wayne. I'm glad that we're walking the same streets and visiting the same coffee shops. It's nice to run into these people when I'm out and about living my life. So enjoy this song that I have yet to hear. I hope you like it, and I'll see you next time.
2, 3, 4.
Oh, you get me ready in your 56 Chevy. Why don't we go sit down in the shade? Took shelter on my front porch, the dandelion sun's